I was in the GATE program, and I remember more than I think I'm supposed to. They gave us this drink. It was in a cup, and it was pink. And I remember in the classes, the other kids would fall asleep, or they would be really out of it. It was really weird. I was one of the only ones that was able to pay attention. I remember it because I was kind of annoyed, like, why is everybody... This is a special class, and I'm the only one that's paying any attention. Come to find out, as an adult, I have a genetic resistance to certain types of painkillers. So I used that to figure out what drug it was. It was chloral hydrate. They mixed it with cough syrup, and they had us drink it. At a certain point, I think they figured out that I wasn't responding to it the way that everybody else was, because they took my blood. They didn't have approval from anybody to do this. And then, after that, I remember less from the classes. But I still remember quite a bit, especially the earlier tests, like the Zener card test. So it wasn't just weird stuff that they did. Most of this was pretty regular school assignment type of things. But the Zener card test was, there would be somebody sitting across from you, and they would hold up a card, and they would ask you to describe what was on the card. And of course, you can't see it, so you have to use your psychic abilities or whatever. And they would make some kind of expression. I remember it was very dramatic, the expression that they would make. And then they would put that card down, and they would grab another one. And based off of presumably the performance in this test, a lot of kids were failed out, and I just never saw them again. I'll talk more in future videos about the different things that I remember, but there are two things that I want to talk about the most right now. The first is that I don't think they were testing kids for psychic abilities. Most of these tests revolved around them making kids feel special. I looked into it, and the way it worked was a university would get a grant, and then they would send somebody to one of these schools to do these classes. But the schools had to be from a poor district. And then the kids that were selected most of them were neurodivergent, and all of the ones that I remember, I was friends with some of these kids, were from divorced parents. So all of these things just tell me, these are vulnerable kids. They specifically picked vulnerable kids. Arguably, you could say, well, yeah, because they wanted those kids to be better educated. But then, why do tests like the Zener card test? And then, the second thing that I wanted to talk about this was toward the end of this program, and there was a session where I was the only one there. I thought it was weird, but I was the only one in the classroom, and they had me sit in this chair, and they put this thing on my head. It was this metal thing, and I couldn't really see the thing because it was up here, but there was something that could swivel. And again, I couldn't really see it because it's above here. And I remember it hurting a lot. And I remember blood came from down here, and they had to wipe it away because it was getting in my eye. And then I thought they put a Band-Aid on my head, but it had a wire coming out of it. And now as an adult, I think that was an electrode. I think they punched a hole in my head, and I think this is the scar from it. And I've watched a lot of videos of people talking about their experiences with the GATE program, and a disproportionate number of these people have a similar scar. It's a circular scar above their right eye. And I think these are people that got far enough in this program, maybe because they knew the parents didn't care or that they could get away with it. And then they started doing more tests. And that's why some of these people have this scar and some of them don't. Because for some of the kids, maybe their parents started asking questions. But I wanted to make this video because I think as adults, a lot of the people that were, I guess, victims of this are still under the impression that they're special somehow. But I don't think that's what the program was about. I think it was about making you feel like you were special so that they could experiment on you. And there were more tests, and I can talk more about that, but those are the highlights. And I think at this point, with everything that we know about the stuff the government has been up to, we should start taking these things a bit more seriously. I know a lot of the people that talk about it they're not as well spoken as I am, or they have pretty extraordinary claims. But that doesn't mean it didn't happen.
This is crazy. So I've never heard of this GATE program, but if you ask me, just real quick before we look up what the GATE program is, just off the top of my head, that thing that they put on his head with the pain that made the blood come down, I wonder if they put some type of chip in his head, because clearly, there's something that happened that made him bleed. And I wonder if that's what they were doing. That's just, right off the top of my head now. Second of all, who wasn't expecting that voice to come out of that guy? I wasn't. I know I wasn't. A lot of people are saying he needs to do audiobooks, but a lot of people tell me that I need to do audiobooks. I was always told that I have a voice for radio when I was younger. And now here I am doing a video podcast kind of thing, YouTube channel. Anyway, let's look up what the GATE program is. The GATE program stands for Gifted and Talented Education. It is a public school program designed to identify students with high intellectual ability, creativity, or academic potential and provide them with advanced, accelerated, and enriched learning experiences. Sounds sketchy to me. Identification. Students take cognitive or achievement tests, often in elementary school or middle school, to qualify. Differentiation. Teachers use specialized, more challenging curriculum rather than just piling on extra work. The formats. Depending on the school district, this may involve pull-out classes, magnet schools, or advanced grade level acceleration. Internet conspiracies and myths. This is where they try to debunk anybody's claims, like the guy in the video we just watched, to make it seem like this is all normal and they're the ones that are pushing an agenda. The rumor. Social media platforms sometimes spread viral theories claiming GATE was a secret government or CIA operation used to test children for psychic abilities, remote viewing, or mind control. The reality. These online myths generally confuse standard public school gifted education with real Cold War era military research projects like the Stargate Project. GATE remains strictly an educational framework meant to stop bright students from getting bored and to help them build critical thinking skills. Who are you going to believe? Are you going to believe the internet, or are you going to believe the guy that actually went through it? I'm probably going to believe the guy that actually went through it, who seems obviously perturbed by what he went through. Let's check out some of these comment sections. This woman right here says, GATE students are the neurodivergent, autistic, ADHD, AUDHD, and empaths who are absolutely psychic, but testing if we followed our connection or ignored the intuition. I believe we're part of the 144,000 chosen ones to break cycles, generational curses, and families, raise the vibration of collective consciousness, reminds us of our power. I don't subscribe to that sort of talk. This is a more woke ideology that I like to subscribe to, but this person right here is saying that she believes she's a psychic. So maybe there's some truth to this whole conspiracy after all. I got kicked out of GATE because I refused to drink it. The pink drink is what they're talking about. The lady asked why. I told her something in me knows I'm not supposed to. Her eyes got really big and she shot a glance at her partner. The next day they had a meeting with my mom and said I need to be put on 2 different meds to help focus more. My mom loudly declined. Weird stuff, man. We need some retired GATE teachers to come forward. They probably signed NDAs and can't come forward, honestly. This brother in the video said, I suspect these classes were overseen by people from the Monroe Institute, so any faculty who were involved probably don't know any more than we do. As a teacher, it has never sat well with me that so many of my GT students ended up with many quirks they didn't start with. I also have noticed that a large percentage became underachievers, and I never understood how or why, but if y'all were being low-key traumatized and gaslighted, then it makes perfect sense. I'm so sorry this happened. That's crazy though, man. I really do feel bad for this guy because you could see it all over his countenance that what he went through was traumatizing. And this is why, guys, you need to be involved in what your kids are doing. Nowadays, we have this such a hands-off approach to how we raise our kids. We let teachers do the work. We let nannies do the work. We let TV and devices do the work. And then kids like this just slip through the cracks because nobody's involved in the day-to-day activities of what's really going on in your kid's life, right? This teacher said that they changed. They had many quirks they didn't start with and that they became underachievers. There's clearly something going on for this to happen. Now, I've never heard of this GATE program. I've been out of school for a long time, guys, so maybe this is something that came along after I got out of school. Because this guy, this guy right here says I'm 55 and was in the GATE program. How long was that around? So apparently it's still going on and it's been around for a minute. So thank you for the warning. I won't let my kids join any GATE program. But what about you? That's my thoughts on this. I'll leave this guy's link in the description. Let me show you his channel. Zacharine. I'll share his link in the description to give him credit for his work, as well as to make it easy for you guys to follow him. I don't believe he's a Christian, but still an interesting story nonetheless. That's going to do it for this one, though. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Until then, God bless.